gentlemen, please a big welcome to our founder and CEO, Fabien Pinckaers.
Welcome to this second day of Odoo experience. Yesterday was amazing. We have seen a lot of features in one day, but I can tell you that today we still have even more things to discover together. But before we start talking about the product, let's have a look at our future. When we think about management software, usually people think about software for the managers. But it's not the way we think at Odoo. We think that software should be made for the people. We do software for employees, for workers, for managers too, so that everyone can perform more in less time. And this is how we innovate. In order to innovate, we analyze how people spend their time at work. We look at where they waste time, and we are thinking where we can automate, make a tool that allows them to perform faster, and we do all the things. And by doing that since years and years and years, we reached a point where the software has a very good level of maturity. And it's important because if you make your employee happy, they will make your customer happy. If you make your employee more efficient and productive, they will make your company become more competitive. So it's critical. And that's what we are doing since years at Odoo. And that's what we are doing since years at Odoo. So let's look at the next step. You have beautiful photos here. And it's working to a point where it starts to work. It starts to work because we have today 4.8 million of happy users. This is massive. Think about all the people where we improve the way they operate. But we do also have 20,000 community modules. It's today the #1 enterprise or business app store in the world. It's much bigger than the one of Salesforce with 6,000 modules. And that's because of a great community, so I would like to thank you for that. Our company is now 700 employees. It's good because it means we can develop even more features for you. But what's important is not what we have done, but to look at how we have done it. And so that we can analyze what's working and how can we keep innovating in the future to keep pushing the barriers of how we can give productivity while keeping the tools simple. So let's have a look. And it started with a great business model. It started with a very complex business model. By being fully open source at the beginning, it was extremely complex for us to find a way to make it work. And we went to a point where it started to work because we started to have a large community. And today I'm very happy because we have a strong and sustainable way to do the business for everyone, for the partners who are now extremely profitable, for the customer who gets a huge value for a low price, for the community who can benefit from a great open source product, and for Odoo SA who has a sustainable model to guarantee that we can continue growing in the future. So let's have a look at how it works and reflect back on the past years. And one of the pivots we did was in 2015. You can see here, in 2014, we raised 8 million euros in cash, so we had a lot of money in the bank. We are super happy, so we started to recruit a lot of developers to improve the product. And then the cash started to decrease to a point where we only had 2 months of cash available. So it started to be a little bit scary, but we have a very good company of great people, so we worked hard, we improved, we did a pivot in the business model, and we introduced what is today the business model of Odoo, an open core business model that allowed us to stabilize and start growing, not with raising cash, but by profitability, which means that in the future we are now sane and we can continue growing with our own revenues. And this business model is very efficient. We are one of the only ones to have 2 products, but they are based on the same core, which is the open source version. So it's great to have the Odoo community, which is purely open source with applications like CRM, website, inventory management, purchase, sale. And on top of that, we do have Odoo Enterprise, which adds some features like accounting, field services, Odoo Studio, and so on. And it's great because it fits both worlds, and we benefit from both products. And since we started to do that, Odoo's growth starting to explode. And what you see here is the growth of Odoo, because we can measure it But we have seen the same thing with the partner. It's just more difficult to measure because we don't have all the number of the partner. But we have seen that the partner growing together with us with this approach. And it's a great business model because the Odoo enterprise revenues allow us to invest more in Odoo community. So the more customer we have, the more we inject in the product. Because even if we only want to invest in Odoo enterprise, because Odoo enterprise is based on Odoo community, we always improve Odoo community. So by design, it's very efficient and beneficial to the open source community. But it works the other way around too. The open source users helps Odoo develop the brand to attract even more customers. And this combination of both these things that brings innovation and revenue and a lot of users allowed us to create something unique on the market. It's to reach a tipping point where we can sell software at 8 times less than traditional management software. If you compare the price, Odoo is at 18 euro in Belgium. It goes up down to $6 in some countries. It's 8 times less than the average of Dynamics and SAP. And we did that because of this open source business model, the contribution with the community, and the huge visibility we have with these millions of users that create leads and reduce our customer acquisition cost. So this model is very efficient and everyone benefits from it. But one question remains. When we develop a new feature, how do we decide if we put it in Odoo community for the open source or we put it in Odoo enterprise to generate revenue to better develop the product? And I would say it's case by case. And when we started with Odoo, with this new business model, because we had 100% Odoo community and 0% Odoo enterprise, over the first year, 2015 and 16, most of the new features have been put in Odoo enterprise because we needed to create the initial value. Our mindset is, and has always been, that 80% of what we do should be open source and 20% should be in Odoo enterprise. So we have done that, and at the beginning we started to create a few features. So we had a little mix in between the features. Some applications were open source, but some of the features were enterprise. Some applications were fully enterprise, some applications were fully open source. It was not clear. So now that we are extremely mature, it's time to clear the boundaries between the two products. And one of the things we would like to do is to say if an application is open source, everything on this application should be open source. If an application is enterprise, it should be enterprise. So that it's way clearer for the customer, and they don't have bad surprises by thinking it's open source and it's not, or the other way around. So these two models, they bring us something. One of the things, or the big advantage of both models, is when we release a feature in community, it allows us to get millions of users. Because when it's free, you attract way more people. And when we release something in enterprise, it allows us to monetize the user. So we need to find this good balance between the two. So how do we decide? Usually it's simple. When an app is community, all the new features are open source. When an app is enterprise, all its new features and evolution are enterprise. But sometimes we create new application. You know, in version 13, we have an e-learning, and we have a field service management application. And so how do we decide between community and enterprise? The way it works is that first, we have open sourced all the features that were in enterprise, but that were part of an open source application. So like the CRM lead scoring. CRM was open source, but the lead scoring was in enterprise. We think it's not clean. It's better to say CRM is open source. So all the features of the CRM, we open source them for Odoo 13, like the CRM lead scoring. And we did the same for the other application. We did the same for e-commerce coupon, mailing teams, website teams, digital product, post-loyalty. And it's the same for enterprise. All the new accounting features are in enterprise, and the payroll features are in enterprise too. And for the new application, it all depends on who's the target market for this application. If the target market is millions of people, it's better to put it in the community. And that's what we did with the e-learning. The new e-learning application is open source because we think it can benefit universities and schools, and it's a huge market of millions of free users, and will benefit of having the users. But field service is different. Field service is a smaller market, a niche market, and a market where there is no competition on the market. All the products we have analyzed are years behind Odoo in terms of features. So it's better for this application to be in Odoo Enterprise. So that's the way we do the split. Of course, it's always an analysis case by case, But the point I'd like that I'm telling you today is that because both bring value to each other, we continue investing massively in both, and both products, Odoo Community is the best in the open source world, and Odoo Enterprise is the best in open source and proprietary world. Both products are great because of this approach. Okay, but and we succeeded to build that and have millions of users because of our community of partners and customers and community members. So I'm proud to say that today we have 2,580 partners. We probably doubled the network in just 1 year. And and this is very important because as the customer demand grows in Odoo, we need companies to deliver the service to this customer. The largest country in terms of partner is Mexico, 176 partners in Mexico. And then we have United States, Saudi Arabia, France, Belgium, and so on. But the thing here is, it just reflects the quality of the product we did. Because we did something great that people love, then we created demand on customer, and this demand of customer created a demand of new partnerships. And what's important here, I told you that Odoo has 700 employees. That's not as important as if we take the sum of all the employees of all the partners, it's 20,000 people. So in just a few years, we have created 20,000 jobs on people developing Odoo or selling or doing consulting at Odoo. This is huge, and I think it's only the beginning. And it's the same for the application. Odoo, we developed, Odoo SA, or company, we developed 529 applications, official apps. And if you look at the community, it's 20,800 community apps. So both bring value together. And we estimate, that's an estimate, that every time we do $1, the partner or the community or the partner network makes $12. And this is great because it means that because we do $75 million this year, it means that we are close to 75 million euros, so $90 million. We are close to a 1 billion market. We created together a 1 billion market in a few years. And yet, it's only the beginning. It's just the beginning because we have less than 1% of the market. So we still have a lot of things to do. So what are the challenges to keep innovating and growing the way we did over the past? The first one is because of the speed of growth of the partner network, of the Odoo employees, of the consultant we need to deliver service to the customer, we estimate that within the next 5 years, there will be 100,000 people selling and developing Odoo, working at partners. So the first challenge, and I'm pretty sure it's a pessimistic, it could be much bigger than that. So the first challenge is that, how can we raise 100,000 new people working on Odoo, delivering quality service, good development, and so on? So we need to invest a lot in education. You have seen already that we released the new e-learning platform, both as an app and as the content of the e-learning, so you can learn all the skills of Odoo online, plus the certification. That's a first step to educate everyone around us, our employees, our partners, our customers. We also released Scale Up, a business game for schools and universities. We use it also to train all our new employees, and I recommend partners to do that when you have a new employee. Use the e-learning and the Scale Up for the first 2 weeks of the onboarding of your employees. They will be very happy, and you will save time after by having someone who better knows the product. So we released this business game. We released it in English, and we just released the French version a few weeks ago. And it's free for the education. So if you are a teacher and you are a student, we give you as much scale-up games as you want. We now released also a new book, the Odoo Implementation Methodology for Partners. So it's available at the front desk, and we distribute to partners if you want, to continue educating about what we think are the best practice. Because having a great product is good, but having a great implementation methodology to be sure we deliver quality service is as important as the product. So that's the first challenge. We'll have 100,000 people to educate, and I'm not even counting the people working at the customer location. The customer will also have a lot of people to educate, and they can also use the e-learning platform, the business game, and so on. The second challenge is to provide competencies. When we discuss with gold partners, we usually hear the same difficulties. Most of them have difficulties to grow. And usually they have difficulties to grow by finding the right project manager. Most of our gold partners and silver partners, they all tell us the same thing. We have plenty of customer demand. We have too much customer demand, we cannot answer everyone. But we struggle to grow because we need more project manager. So we think education can help, but we think you can help in other ways. So one of the things we'll do in the short-term future is we will propose all project managers, the ones working at Odoo SA, for the partners. So if you have needs for larger projects, you can have one or two of our project managers on demand to unlock your growth. And we can do that because we have a capacity with our size to train way more and recruit way more people. The challenge number 2 is we have to grow the partner network. We need to grow the partner network because we do less than 0.1% of the market today. Imagine what it will be when we own 10% of the market. We need a lot of services companies to provide a service, and we need these service companies to grow so that they can meet the expectation of more customers. And we need to do that while keeping the quality of the partner network. So we've done a few things. We have been stricter about the quality of the official partner. So in order to remain gold or silver already, we started to be way more strict with the account manager about the KPIs we expect for a partner that reflects the quality of the service. And on the other hand, we started to be also more accessible to new partners with the new learning partner program that we launched last year. And this program was a huge success and probably the reason why we doubled the partner network in just a year. By doing these two together, we can bring more company on Odoo, we can grow the pie together of what we can address on the market, and we can ensure quality because we will keep only the best partners. How we will grow a partner, it didn't change. The only thing that changed is that now we are going to be extremely strict. We started a few months ago to be extremely strict on how we grade partners and how we allow them to keep their level between ready, silver, and gold. So we measure the experience based on the number of new customers they have. We measure the competencies based on the certification of their people. To reach a certain level, they need some number of certification. And we measure the customer satisfaction by the fact that their customer stays or not on Odoo. It's the closest we have to measure the success or the failure of partner. So we call the retention or the renewal rate. Challenge number 3. Odoo has to evolve quickly. Odoo always evolves quickly. But we don't want to let customers behind. It's good to evolve, but we want all the customers to evolve with us. So in order to do that, we are working very hard on having smoother upgrades. And the smoother we can get is that what we are trying to do is on Odoo Online, we are trying to launch rolling release. So I'm pretty sure that in a few months, before the end of the year, we'll launch rolling release, which means that every time we have a new feature, it's accessible online in a few weeks. Feature by feature and not a release every 2 months or 3 months. It's much easier to mind that. And it's only for the Odoo Online customer, the one who only use Odoo out of the box in standard. For the regular Odoo SH or enterprise customer, they will keep the annual release, but we're working on the platform so that it gets much better. But we also do something else. We have an issue with customers and partners, and us too, is that it's often the customer or the service provider underestimate the maintenance of what they develop. You took a module on the community app store, okay, it costs $20. You put the $20 module on your system, and then you have to maintain it. But the thing is, maintaining such a module costs much more than $20. If you spend 3 days per year just because of issues of upgrades, or because you have to refactor this module, it quickly costs a few $1,000s. And the thing is, we have noticed that a lot of partners are not well organized, some are, it's not a loud critique, to make their customer upgrade, maintain what they do. So what we will do is sensibilize the customer about the cost of the maintenance. So on the Odoo App Store, we'll put a price. What will be the maintenance cost if you buy it at Odoo? That's the price we will apply for ourselves, which will become a reference for the partner and the customer to know. And this price is computed based on number of lines of code in a module. The bigger the module, the more it costs to maintain. And we think that it will help partners a lot, because if partner, I've seen a lot of partners, I will not name it, but I remember a partner that told me that he has 15 developers and they have difficulties to reach break-even. And they have 15 developers since a few years. It's a historic partner. And when we did the math and said, okay, 15 developers that develop for years, normally you should have a volume of maintenance contract which is bigger than your current turnover. And if he would have sold maintenance efficiently, I think it would have been better for his customer, who would have upgraded, have quality support, and it would have been much better for him because his company would have been 2 times bigger. So if we start thinking about that, we have to start stopping thinking about the short term of just doing an implementation and that's it. We have to start thinking and creating a context and an environment where we all evolve together with the customer. We don't want to let customer behind with complex code to upgrade. So we'll do that. We'll start to do it for ourselves. And as usual, because we apply always the same methodology, which is lead by example, we expect and we hope that the partners will follow us on this approach of maintaining, upgrading, supporting our customers. The challenge number 4. The success of Odoo has always been the product. We need to keep innovating at a fast pace. We need to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible to help company growth. So we'll continue having a look at where people are wasting time, where we can automate, where we can do tools that allow people to do more in less time. That remains our number 1 challenge, is to keep investing in research and development to improve the product. Yeah. So let's talk about the new version, Odoo 13. So Odoo 13 will be released today. It's not a surprise anymore. It's going to be released for both Odoo Community and Odoo Enterprise, of course. For existing customer, the upgrades on Odoo Online are opt-in. You have a button to request the upgrade, and then the upgrades are done in the background with a test database if you want. For Odoo Enterprise customer, you can upload your database on upgrade.odoo.com. And from new companies, starting off today, when you register on Odoo Online, you are on Odoo 13. Okay, so now we have seen how we'll keep innovating, growing the partner, helping the customer grow with us. One of the things we'll change next year is the tools, because you know the community of Odoo is amazing. We have so many people. Everywhere we go, we have a lot of people. So last year, this year actually, for Odoo 12, we organized 227 local events in 80 countries. It was 121 registered attendees. Can you imagine 227 events? It's more or less 1 per open day in all the countries in the world. And on average, per event, we have 532 attendees. It's massive. Everywhere we go, all around the world, there are a lot of people. And 81% of them are decision makers, and 65% of them have a project. So it's huge. But as usual at Odoo, when we do something, we want to scale it even more. So next year, we are going for 400 events in different cities in just 1 year. And instead of doing one roadshow, like the TinyERP roadshow like we used to do, we'll have 5 different shows. One for the regular overview of all the features of Odoo, the ERP one. We'll do a roadshow dedicated to accounting firms for accountant. We'll do a roadshow dedicated for marketing people. With all our marketing apps, we cover everything that they need. We'll do a roadshow for human resources and one for manufacturing. And you know, we are a community-based organization. We work on GitHub. All our events are very community-oriented. We have a great open source community with whom we collaborate a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I really like the roadshows, is that it allows us, Odoo SA, to meet people locally, to go in different countries, discover their challenge, and we learn a lot every time we go to an event. Often we come back and say, oh, I have a new idea of a feature because we went to an event in Africa, Asia, or whatever. So these roadshows are very important also to keep building the community and working together, because working online is great, but sometimes being face-to-face is even better. Yep. So that's it for my presentation about the future. And now I'd like to invite on the scene Johan Wouters, our Chief Project Officer working on the large accounts.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Johan, CPO at Odoo. Customer stories. Stories. I really like stories. Don't you like them? I think most of us here do. And we are not the only ones. According to the world-famous historian Noah Harari, stories are critical to the human species. They are at the heart of our being. They are core in establishing bonds. Bonds which in turn are critical for the ecosystem, the Odoo ecosystem of which you, dear customer, partner, and Odoo colleague alike, you're part of. Therefore, let's have a look at our first story. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Jeroen Brink of Quint Corporation. Is that a seat?
Thank you, Johan.
It's really an honor to have you here today with us, Jeroen. Could you give a word explanation about your role within Quint Corporation, please?
Of course. Well, first of all, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm Finance Director within Quint. Been with the company already for 12 years, had several roles. Now, as you can imagine, with finance being my key profession, I was absolutely thrilled yesterday with the new accounting features. Very nice. But besides being end responsible for finance within Quint, I'm also responsible for Odoo. I did a selection a couple of years ago when we were looking for a new EP partner, and still to today, I'm the product owner of Odoo and very actively involved in the further development.
If I'm not mistaken, Quint Corporation went through a small revolution, isn't it?
Well, I think we're a kind of company which are constantly trying to invent ourselves again and again, and constantly working on that evolution. But I think you're also referring to our rebranding, which is currently ongoing.
Yeah, I've seen that Quint carries a very important prize.
Yes. Actually, we have won several prizes over a number of years. But I think what we're very proud of is that for already 8 consecutive years, we are top ranked as an outsourcing advisory firm by the International Association of Outsourcing Professionals.
Very impressive. Thank you.
Yes.
I think that deserves a hand. How would you describe the pre-Odoo era?
We had quite a scattered landscape, to be honest. We're typically a consulting firm, so people writing hours. We were having different software package for our finance, but also for the product administration, CRM, etc. So it were all bits and pieces, with some integrations here and there, but not really one ecosystem.
So how did you go on selecting Odoo as a solution?
When I took on this role already in 2014, we already said, well, for now this is okay. There was quite some work to do also in other areas, but we said in a couple of years this is what we're going to address. So end of 2016, we said, okay, this is the right moment. We now have to start acting on this, and we were looking at the various possibilities we had. Now, of course, all the typical products were named, NetSuite, SAP, but Odoo at that moment was not really known yet in the Netherlands. So that was actually quite a challenge, but I think that's also the motto of Quint. We like to dare to challenge, and I said, well, if I just look at the possibilities of Odoo, the philosophy of the company, the culture of the company, we got to know you a little bit, but also the partner, Be Informed, who is helping us implementing Odoo, and still to today very active. They're a great team of motivated, qualified people. I said, what would be the reason not to go for Odoo? So, a bit risky, but it did pay off.
A courageous plan. Yeah. So how did your initial project evolve? Can you spend a couple of words on that subject?
Yes, I think that's quite interesting. We're a consulting firm. We are helping our customers with digital transformation. Topics like Agile, DevOps, no surprises for us over there. But of course, it's easy to sell something to customers, but it's maybe a bit harder to also act on those kinds of beliefs for yourself. So that's also a bit what happened with us. So on one hand, it was very positive. Within half a year, we went live with Odoo with the core modules being accounting, CRM, and product administration. But on the other hand, we could have done better in some ways. I think most important is the changes in flows which we made. I think at the moment we went live with Odoo and we started the product. Of course, we knew the base philosophy, but we were not yet at that level where we really understood the depth of that philosophy. As a result, although we strived to think outside of the box and redesign our processes, you still in the end see points where you fall back into old habits and say, hey, this was my process, can we do the same thing over again? I think most important mistake what we made, which is still a challenge in Odoo, by the way, is revenue recording. We write hours, so I don't want to see my revenue based on an invoice I sent, but on base of actual work delivered. Still to today, you know it, I told you yesterday, I think Odoo should be doing something on that. That's I think mandatory for every service company. So what we did with the initial release, we basically built our own flow, trying to get automated journal entries from that hour recording. That didn't work. Way too heavy, a lot of bugs, all those kinds of things. So this year we did it completely different. We recently migrated from V10 to V12. Very successful. We had a dedicated product manager within Quint, keeping everybody together, both internally but also with our partner, Be Informed. That worked really well. And instead of looking at what do we want in terms of a process, we much better looked at, but what is the standard process in Odoo, and why not use that?
So does that mean that you finally got rid of a lot of those customizations you did in the first phase?
Yes, we cut out a whole bunch of them, yeah.
Okay, so if I understand, you moved from V10 to V12, going through that exercise and carrying that experience forward.
Correct.
Okay, so if you look at Quint today after these experiences, where do you think you stand? What is the advantages that Odoo brought to you?
I would say plenty. I think our work processes are much more efficient. So we reduce the time spending on entries, basically. But also the view we now have. Everything is integrated. Recently, I was sitting at a Big Four accounting firm, and they told me, Jeroen, within service companies, we see product administration is always one big mess. And with you, it's not only not a mess, it's very clean. The product administration and financial administration are very well tied together. So that really helps us on a daily basis.
And for you, in your current role at Quint Corporation, does it have a direct impact on your job as well?
Yes, most definitely. From a finance point of view, each morning I know where we stand, where we're going to. I can make very nice analysis. It would be nice if we can do that more and more into Odoo. So I see plenty of possibilities for Odoo to evolve further on that. But we have a very nice data warehouse behind Odoo, connected to Google Data Studio and also to Excel. And with that, we can do great analytics. Yeah.
And so you were positively looking forward to V13 after what you've learned the last day?
Oh, most definitely, yeah. Last year when we went to V12, we said probably V13 won't be very interesting for service companies. But looking at yesterday with the change on accounting, but also the social marketing, which is very important for us, e-learning, which might benefit us, but also on the HR, with how do you call it, the salary and the being variable in what do I want to choose, do I want to sell or purchase days, things like that. The job recruitment process, which is much improved. Can we go tomorrow?
So, as a closing message, would you make a recommendation to the audience present here?
Yes, I think that there's a lot to gain in terms for the partners who are in this audience, in terms of getting that deep knowledge with your customer before they start with Odoo, and also not trying to fix everything before you close the product, but say, okay, when do we need to go live, if it's fixed, preferably not, and what maybe is our budget, but then along the way see what you get into and what are the priorities to manage.
Okay, then it only remains to give you a big thank you for your sharing of knowledge and experience with us, and please give him a hand. I think that was really a worthy story, wasn't it? I have a to-do for you. The importance of sharing stories I explained in the introduction. And to ensure there will be a further thriving ecosystem of Odoo, I will ask you, please, for the coming weeks and the coming months, to share this type of customer success stories. It will strengthen your position and will strengthen the system as a whole. So please follow us in sharing stories. And to pave the road, I would like to invite our next invitee of AH Industry, Karen Balslev-Pedersen. Please give her a hand. Hello, Karen. Thank you for being here. Please.
Thank you for having me here.
So Karen, thanks for being here. Can you give us a word of explanation on the structure of AH Industries and your activities, please?
Yes, we are a manufacturing company. We have 4 locations, 3 factories in Denmark and 1 in China. We have approximately 350 employees worldwide. So the local factories is not that big, but our customers are international, our suppliers are international, so we have multi-languages in our setup in Odoo, and we also have multi-currencies and a multi-company. I think we have 8 or 9 companies in our multi-company, even though we only have 4 factories. So that's the complexity. So it's a kind of a small, medium-sized company, but we have the complexity of a big company.
So if I understand well, you talk multi-company, you talk multi-currency, you talk about linguistic constraints.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds complex indeed. Could you describe us the context in which you chose Odoo, please?
Yes, we are currently running in Microsoft Navision. That's it. I don't know how many knows it, but it's a very well-known ERP system in Denmark because it originates from Denmark. And we have 3 different setups because we used to be different companies and we were brought together by some investment companies years ago. So we have different customized setups. So we are working in 3 different Navision versions, and also a lot of Excel to support the Navision. Our update licenses are running out, so we had to do something. We had a burning platform because soon we will not be able to update our Navision anymore, and that's not good. So that was on that basis that we needed a new ERP system. So we had an IT manager last year who were looking out, and he found Odoo and thought that that could be a good solution for us because from his analysis and gap analysis with other systems, he thought that we could have the same, but at a lower price. Because of the license structure. And then we also like that it's browser-based, so you have a better, you don't have the loading problems and so on, and you can easily access on your mobile phone and your tablet, which we think is the new way of doing your business. And then also we like the process-oriented view there is in Odoo, where you look on a role, like I'm a warehouse employee, so you try to make the process easy for them. So you get the process orienting into your system. So that's why we chose Odoo instead of going on another Navision setup or something like that.
So, and how did that translate when it comes to scope?
The scope was to get one ERP system, one joint ERP system for all the locations, but also one ERP system where you could easily access the data and turn the data from data to information, valuable information, because we need that to support our way in the market. Because Navision was very customized over many years, it's not very easy to get out new data, so we could see that we have difficulties in supporting the information we need to drive our business today from Navision, and we want to have a system where that's easier, so that we're not so dependent on fixed reports that was made years ago, but that you can take out and play around with the things the way you want them today. And we do that in Excel, but we would like to have that in the system instead of in Excel.
Well, that's quite positive elements for us. I have to try not to blush too much. Thank you. What would be the main goals? How could you describe them for the project?
Yeah, because we were so customized before, we of course also wanted to be as standard as possible. So one of the goals that our manager or our CEO set for us was to go for as much standard as we could, both because it's cheaper to implement. You don't have to pay a lot for consultants making programming, especially for you, and also because it's also easier to upgrade later on, and with the structure that you have in Odoo, where you get the new version every year, we hope that it will be easier to have a system that is updated and with where we have the new things easier than we did in Navision, where we don't have any new things. I think they are almost 10 years old, the versions we have.
You talked about expiring licenses of your legacy system. That means a lot of time-based stress. How did you cope with that?
Yeah, we had a very tough timeline because of this, and also because our CEO, he doesn't believe in eternity projects, so he wants us to go fast. So we had the proof of concept last year in November, and then in around March this year, we started up the project for real. deciding how to customize the things that we needed, storage locations and things like that, where to put in the information we need in order to on the sales orders, and how to build up our materials and all things like that. So we started up with the project in March, and then we went live on the first factory mid-June this year. So
in 4 months?
Yes. So
wow,
that was
that's impressive. Please give that a hand. 4 months. Wow.
Yes, that was quite quick, and I think that has been good, but it's also, of course, given us some complications. But yes, 4 months. So, but we could manage that because we had a project group from our side. So the management set out a project group with 3 internal persons, with myself handling all what we call CRM. So that's sales orders, purchase order, manufacturing orders, warehouse, and sometimes we also arrange the transportation. And then we had, I have a colleague, Henrik, who gave a presentation yesterday. He is handling the finance things, and then we have our IT manager who is handling the technical stuff. So making sure that there were users were having a user rights, and that we had computers working in the production area and all that.
At the origin, you're a compliance officer now. Isn't that a big scope for a compliance officer to cover?
So, once again?
You're a compliance officer at origin,
yes.
So that seems like a fairly big scope for you to cover.
Yes, but I think compliance, many people think of it as the legal compliance, but in our case it's because we are ISO 9001, ISO 14001, and OSAS 18001 certified. So it's because I have a knowledge about the processes in the company that I was chosen, and also because I have a background in CRM. So, yeah.
I think you had significant roles reserved for the partners?
Yes, we had a very close relationship also with our partners, because we couldn't do this so quickly without them. We started up with one partner from Germany, because there's not so many partners in Denmark, and we liked this one, Odoo Business Solutions from Germany. And we quickly found out that we needed a Danish partner also, because we have Anglo-Saxon accounting in Denmark, and in Europe most of people are working under, I think it's called the International Accounting something standard. I'm not the accountant, so. So their knowledge was limited on Anglo-Saxon accounting. So we decided to add a Danish partner also, who had more knowledge about that. And luckily, both partners took this as not a problem, but just an opportunity to learn more for both of them. So we have had a very close relationship with our 2 partners, but also a very clear responsibility. So we know that in order to make this happen, so OBS from Germany is the implementing partner, so they have all the licenses, they do everything on the supply chain part, and also both programming and customizing and training and advising us, and implementing all programming. And then Odoo House from Denmark does the same on the finance side, but OBS from Germany handles everything that's all programming loaded into our setup, so that we know that nothing is messed up. Okay,
and those roles were established up front at the
yes.
prior to the start of the project?
Yes, and then we have a dedicated project manager or consultant that we work close with, so we always know who to contact. And both companies have been very good at answering back to us very quickly, so that if we send a question, we get answers within at least the most 24 hours. So even if it's just a question, sometimes we have correspondence about how to handle some things, or how to set up our templates, or whatever it is. And sometimes also, of course, daily problems that we need help for correcting in the implementation when we went live. So we have a very close collaboration with the partners. And if they weren't so willing to support us the way they are doing, we couldn't have done it so quickly.
That sounds excellent. What could you share some of the successes that you can define coming out of this project?
Yes, we wanted to go as much standard as possible, and we actually succeeded this. We have everything in our setup, all the major. We have sales, we have purchase, we have the manufacturing things, we have the accounting things. So we have more or less everything that you have in an ERP system. Even though it's a small, medium-sized company, we have all the complexity. And we wanted to go standard, as much standard as possible. And we actually managed to only with 3 major programming. One is on the manufacturing orders, because we are not a production line. So if something happens, or when it happens, something goes wrong, then we can shift around, split up operations maybe on 2 machines in order to meet the deliveries. So we needed some more flexibility on the manufacturing orders than Odoo offers us as standard. So that programming we had made. Then we also needed something on on subcontracting, because almost 90% of our products go out for subcontracting surface treatment before delivery. So, and Odoo didn't have any subcontracting features, or at least not something that we could use.
Yeah, you can do the work order.
I watched the presentation yesterday, and it's still not what we use, because we need to have it in the production orders, maybe in the beginning, in the middle, or in the end, and it's not the same every time. So we had a programming made for that also. And then the last programming, which is being made at the moment, is because we used to have time clocking of our production hours. Our blue collars, that's salary clocking in Navision, and going away from Navision, we needed a new clocking system. And Odoo standard is too simple for us, because we have different schedules for employees. I think at the factory we are working at it now, we have 11 different time schedules, so we needed something else. So we took another support program for that, not an Odoo program, and then we are getting a programming made so that all the data on the manufacturing orders, the clocking of times on the manufacturing orders, is taken to this other program, so that we can still look on the hours spent on the workers. So with the complexity of a company, we actually managed only with 3 major programming, and otherwise it's Odoo standard or Odoo standard with a little adaptations. So I think that's a huge success, and also I'm very happy for that, because then it makes it easier for us later on when we have to upgrade and so on.
Okay. If you allow, question of all questions, I learned that you were a former SAP user.
Yes.
So how do you compare Odoo a little bit with that experience?
Yes, but I liked working in SAP more than I liked working in Navision, I would say. So, but I think what I like with Odoo is that it's so open. It's very easy to correct things. In SAP, if a product is meant to be delivered at a certain sales order, then it's for that sales order, and it's quite complicated to get it on another sales order, and that's very easy in Odoo, for example. So the openness and the flexibility of the system makes it easy to shuffle around, so it supports your daily day. But of course, it also means that you need to know what you're doing, so you need to train your users properly, or make sure they don't have the rights to mess up the system. So.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Wrapping up, I'm sure that there are also some elements that you would do differently if you would have to redo the project. Could you share that with our colleagues?
Because of the very, very quick timeline and the time pressure, we accepted that the users from the site where we started, they didn't have time. It was only 4 months for the project phase, and we accepted that they didn't have time at that moment to be a part of the project team, so we took the decisions for them. Which was good, because we didn't end up in a discussion. Yes, for getting on, moving on. But of course, it meant that when we went live, they only had seen Odoo and their processes a few times. So that was quite a wake-up call for them, and maybe also a little bit too stressed. So involving people is very important, but of course it's a combination on how many discussions you want to have. We were from management given the mandate to take decisions, and so if we had talked with our consultants and they said, oh, you should do it like this, then we were actually able to say, this is how it's done in the new system. And that was very good, because we had the mandate, and also we dared to take the decisions and then take the blame afterwards and the discussions afterwards. But of course, involving people is very important, training them, and we didn't have proper time for that. So that's why we are learning on the fly, and that's a little bit hard, but we managed. We have been running for 4 months, and as Henrik said yesterday, we sent out invoices, we delivered things, we got paid, our customer pays us, and we actually also paid our suppliers, so it hasn't been a completely disaster, but we are learning on the fly, and that's a little tough.
Okay,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Give a hand to... Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for assisting to these sessions with openers and not only success components. So I can only invite you again, please consider strengthening further our ecosystem of which you are part of by sharing this type of stories, because they really strengthen the bonds between us. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.